Hello, hello. So, this book is not as bad as I thought. Like, okay, it's not bad per se. It's kind of boring, and I think it's more academic than a pleasure read. I will eat some of my words and say that it's a good read. It's not as boring as I thought, or maybe now comes the interesting part because they're talking about the divergence between the social behavioral patterns and impact of COVID on economy, the society, and basically welfare of people. And I think one of my favorite points that I read in the last chapter before I shut the book to go to sleep was about how education was impacted across the world, and more specifically in the United Kingdoms, because it's based on data from the United Kingdoms, was how students, whether that's primary, secondary, college students, all of them were impacted by education, and how actually that's going to have long lasting effects. And that is probably going to be studied now that COVID's 5 years in the past. So that was a very interesting point. I'll write a very short note, I would say, in the chapter. It could be a whole chapter in itself, but that's not what the book was about. Now comes the interesting part before I may or may not continue reading now, where they talk about the behavioral impact that COVID had on people across different countries. So they do go like in an oversight into comparison with different countries like Japan or the European Union. That's not a country, but like as a whole, the EU. Not so much the US, Canada, but sometimes there are also comparisons to India. So overall, I think maybe this will not be such an academic read, but it could definitely be written much easier. I think a lot of times I find my mind straying, and then I have to literally pull myself back to focus on what's written. Otherwise, there's no point. Otherwise, you're not really understanding what's written. So let's see. Now I'm in the flow, so I think I'll be able to finish this by the end of this week.